Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Coach Bronson here, and we are talking about things fitness and nutrition related every Wednesday night. So if you didn't know, now you know. It is Wednesday. It is 7:30 Eastern Time. So we are going to talk about some things related to movement, compound movement in particular, and we're going to talk about what a compound movement is, why it's important for you regardless of what stage of fitness you're in, beginner, intermediate, advanced, or something else, who knows. But yeah, we're going to talk about that. I hope everybody's doing well. I'm going to usually, like usual, like always, I'm going to wait a minute or two, see if we have any people that pop on. I think I can see when people hop in here. Let's see here. What is that? No, that's not it. Trying to figure this out. All right, well, anywho. All right, so let's talk about compound movements. So we talked about in the description here, what are compound movements and why it's important. There's a handful of things about compound movements that can really, really help you develop and help you grow in a lot of different ways along your fitness journey. Compound movements are essentially, keep it simple, we're gonna say any movement that requires multiple joints, multiple muscle groups, and various movement patterns, okay, in that same exercise. So as opposed to doing a bicep curl where the only joint working is your elbow, and then your bicep muscle is doing most of the work, right? One primary muscle, one primary joint, okay? That's different than doing an overhead press, maybe where I'm using my shoulders, I'm using my back, okay, I'm using my elbow and my shoulders are moving together. I have to keep my core engaged. So that is more compound than simply just doing a curl, right? Doing a squat is even more so, right? I have weight on my back, so my shoulder has to, my upper body has to maintain weight. My core has to be stable. I'm bending with my hips. I'm using my knees. I'm flexing at my ankles. There's a lot of joints, a lot of body parts moving in different ways all at the same time. Compound. It's multiple pieces working together to perform an action, okay? So when we talk about compound movement, we're talking about multiple joints, multiple muscles, muscle groups, and movement patterns moving all together, all right? Why is this important? For beginners, let's talk about for beginners first. Why are compound movements something that is really beneficial for beginners to do? Number one, most compound movements, most functional movements, the movements that we do in our day-to-day life are, by definition, compound movements. So if your goal as a beginner is to improve your quality of life and use fitness as a way to express your freedom, express yourself, and be active and do things and participate with family and just experience a range of things that you're able to do physically, okay, or improve the range of things that you want to be able to do physically, then the movements you need to get good at are compound movements, okay? Because you sit down, you walk, you squat, you deadlift, you reach up and grab things, okay? You twist and turn and pull, and you push, and you drag, and all of these things happen in our everyday life that are, by definition, compound movements, and you need to train not just those movements specifically, but you need to teach your body how to put those things together, okay? So there's two factors with that help beginners when it comes to getting into a fitness routine, okay? One is movement patterns. You heard me say that once, okay? Movement patterns, movement patterns, movement patterns. The benefit and the awesome thing about compound movement and functional training that uses compound movement is a phrase called transferability. A word, I guess that's one word, it's not a phrase. Transferability is the building of a movement pattern and using that movement, let's just say not the building of, learning a movement pattern and then using that movement pattern in as many different movements as possible, not just in the gym, not just in your workouts, but also in your everyday life. So if you learn how to do a deadlift in the gym, if you pick up a barbell, you pick up a kettlebell, and you learn how to properly deadlift, you now know the basics of what you need to do a squat. You know the basics of what you need to do a kettlebell swing. You know the basics of what you need to do to get on a rowing machine and row. You know the basics of what you need to do to properly engage your hips in a hamstring stretch. Okay? There's a lot of things that learning how to deadlift is going to transfer to. That's at the gym. At home, you know how to pick things up off the floor now without hurting your back. Okay? If you have to lift a chair, lift a table, move a couch, right? Get a bunch of things, get something heavy, get a bag of manure or a bag of mulch out of the back of your truck, right? You know how to do these things because you learned how to deadlift in the gym. Transferability is one of the absolute best things that you can do because it transfers by definition to other things that you do. So you learn it once, you get to use it all the time. Okay? Secondly, along with that, is it cuts down on the amount of time you have to stay in the gym. You can get a huge amount of benefit from learning compound movements because of the transferability. If you learn it once, you get to use it a bunch of different places, which means you never run out of times to practice it. Ever, ever, ever. You never run out of time to practice it. You don't have to wait till you go to your trainer. You don't have to wait till you go to your gym session for the third time that week or whatever it may be. If you're not going 5 or 6 days a week, you don't have to wait. You're doing it in your everyday life. Think about the way that you move every single day and apply the things that you're learning in the gym to those scenarios as well. That is fitness, guys. That is the crux of all of the stuff that we're doing, all the stuff that I talk about, whether you're a beginner, intermediate, or advanced. If you're not applying it to your everyday life, then why are you doing it in the first place? Okay? So that's one of the benefits of compound movements, transferability. The second thing is, as a beginner, it is getting your brain, and we're going to talk about this next week. I had a client today who asked a question about something that got some synapses firing in me about a topic. We're going to talk about the central nervous system next week. We're going to talk about how your brain develops through exercise and why that's good. Okay, basically how you can get fitter without actually getting fitter. How does that even make sense? Oh my gosh. Okay, but basically when you're a beginner, okay, your brain is clay. Okay, your body's ability to feel movement, control movement, and have that balance, agility, coordination, all those things are not as advanced or as developed as we'd like them to be. That's why you're working on your fitness, to improve those things. Because remember, all of those things are part of fitness. Fitness is not just how fast you can run or how strong you are or how much weight you can lift. Okay? Fitness includes balance, agility, coordination. Okay? These are things that are part of fitness. You can lift 300 pounds, but if you can't walk down the stairs without falling over, who cares? Right? Coordination and balance are huge pieces of brain work that has to get done in order to help you improve your fitness. So as a beginner, learning compound movement forces your brain to learn how to be flexible, how to be pliable, and how to understand what your body's doing. So as you learn compound movements, you are forcing yourself to feel what is happening in your body. That means understanding the position of your bones, position of your joints, what muscles are actually working when you do an exercise. Understanding how to control your hips. What does it mean to brace your core? What does it mean to pull your scapula back and lock down your shoulders? What does it mean to engage your hamstrings? What does it mean to push your knees out? All of these cues and all of these things that you get from your coaches, trainers, or me, okay, are things that you have to, that are being ingrained and instilled and trained, and through repetition, you're developing your brain power when it comes to fitness. Okay, I had a post the other day where I said, movement is the language of fitness. This is part of that. Understanding how your body, this is live, Renee. Understanding how your body works is part of learning the language of movement. Okay, and that is a huge piece for a beginner, and that is a huge reason why compound movements are important to be able to do and to learn how to do. Low stress. Okay, there's a very big difference in how we apply compound movements to a beginner versus intermediate or advanced, but it's still very important for you to learn those movements because you are forcing yourself to understand how your body works. Okay, understanding how your body works is the launching platform for the rest of your fitness journey and improving your quality of life. So if you're starting your fitness journey and all you're doing is bicep curls and leg curls and getting on an elliptical, that's awesome. It's better than nothing. You're going to see some improvement. But if you want to shoot yourself into a rocket ship and hit your fitness goals, compound movements are the way to go. Okay, just remember that. All right, so that's for beginners. Okay, for beginners, we're talking about transferability, we're talking about learning movement patterns, and we're talking about using the process of learning how to do these movements is increasing your fitness because it's improving your central nervous system and your body's ability to understand movement in the first place. All right, so that's for beginners. Okay, for intermediate and advanced, there's a couple things. Compound movements, okay, the transferability stuff absolutely still comes into play. The brain work and the central nervous system work absolutely still comes into play. Okay, it just changes a little bit. Okay, the transferability doesn't change at all. That's the same. You learn something, you can use it in different places. If you learn a tweak or a technique, you can use it in different places. The central nervous system stuff changes a little bit because you have to be more aware, and the changes and the cues and the tweaks that you're making are more precise and more focused. So for a beginner, I may talk to a beginner, a client who's working on pressing overhead, and I'm just trying to get them to get their arms straight and to get it back so that they're not pushing out in front of them, they're actually pushing over their head when they go overhead. All right. For an intermediate or advanced person, I may be talking about elbow position, I may be talking about how they're gripping the bar, I may be talking about where they're putting pressure in their shoulder blades and things like that. More specific, more focused, okay? But again, transferability still plays, okay? But there's always, and this is the cool thing about it, with compound movements, your ability to improve is almost endless because there is always something that you can tweak. There is always something that you can do to get better because there's so many pieces to a compound movement, okay? Let's look at a squat, for instance. In a squat, we've got bar position on the shoulder. We've got body position in the squat. Is it vertical? Is it leaned forward? We've got hip activation. We've got knee pressure. We've got foot pressure. We've got angle of bend in the ankles. Okay? There's a whole bunch of, we've got position of the elbows holding the bar. Is the bar high? Is the bar low? Do I have core engagement? So this is just stuff I'm thinking of off the top of my head. When I stand up out of it, am I standing up through my toes or standing up through my heels? Am I engaging my quads or am I engaging my glutes? Okay? Am I leading with my butt or am I lifting with my chest? These are all questions that as a coach, when I'm looking at an advanced athlete, I'm looking at all these things. What is the stance? Is the stance too narrow? Is the stance too wide? Are the knees coming in or the knees coming out? Okay? So there's a bunch of things that as an advanced athlete, as a coach who's working with an advanced athlete, that is far surpasses the central nervous system level of training that a beginner's at, okay, because they've worked up into that. That doesn't mean the central nervous system training stops, okay? There's always a path forward. There's always a path forward, okay? All right, so those two things still do apply when it comes to intermediate and advanced people, okay? Transferability, central nervous system development is still part of compound movements and why intermediate and advanced people should be doing them, okay? Another thing about compound movements that is really awesome is because they are compound movements for advanced athletes, not only is it functional for their day-to-day use, okay? That's fantastic. But if you are an advanced athlete, one, if you have a specific sport, two, then chances are the movements that you're performing in the efforts and the endeavors that you're performing them in are complex and compound as well. So you need to duplicate and expand maybe beyond the base functional fitness movements, but get a little bit more variety into compound movements that changes the normal combination of things that we do. Okay? So compound movements may change as your advancement or as your focus as an advanced athlete changes. So if I'm just a CrossFit athlete, then I'm going to stick probably with most of the basics, right? I'm going to be doing squats and deadlifts and cleans and power cleans and snatches and pull-ups and things like that, okay? Those are the basics. I'm going to do rope climbs. I'm going to do ball slams. I'm going to do things that use all sorts of my body, okay? If I'm a baseball player, I may be mixing up some of those movements and be doing ball slams that are lateral based versus just a regular ball slam in front. I may be doing cleans in combination with one-legged plyometric jumps. There's a combination of things that goes back and forth based on the sport or specific activity. So compound movements can change, and that is where there's benefit, because you can get really specific in the things that you're doing based on what you're trying to do as far as your goals are. So because the goals change a little bit, the goal for a beginner person just trying to get healthy and get fit is different than an advanced athlete who's trying to perform well in a specific endeavor or activity. Compound movements still apply to both, although they're implemented and used differently. Hope that makes sense. Okay, so that is basically where compound movements fall in. In general, it doesn't matter where you are in your fitness journey. Compound movements, and I'm going to say this, not even with a grain of salt, this is my belief, okay? Compound movements are where you're going to see the most progress in your quality of life, period, okay? You can spend time, and there is some benefit in doing isolation, simple movements like bicep curls and leg extensions and things like that, and sit-ups, right? There's benefit in that as an add-on and supplemental work to a core program based on functional movement. If your program is solely based on isolation and direct activation of specific muscle groups and not in compound movements, then your program is not functional. Sorry, it's not. Because it's not giving you the central nervous system demand that you need. It's not giving you the multifunctional activation of joints and muscles that you need to do every day of your life, okay? And it's also not triggering, this is another side point, it's not triggering the metabolic stimulus that you need to improve and enhance your metabolism. Okay, that's another side thing about compound movements that helps everybody across the board. Doing compound movements takes more work than doing isolation movements. You're going to get more out of it metabolically as well, not just in your muscles. Okay, so there's a ton of reasons why compound movements are better. If you, in my opinion, if you have any questions, I would love to hear them. We have a comment from Renee. Stuck at 30.9. You want to get that 1% muscle mass. Give it time, Renee. It's only been a week. All right, you're good. Okay, just keep doing what you're doing. It'll get there. Have an extra bite of eggs or have an extra bite of steak every night or something. Okay, add a little bit more weight to the workouts that you're doing. But most of all, just be patient. Okay, trust the process. You'll get there. All right, guys, that's all I got today. If you have any questions, as always, keep going and ask questions in the group, ask questions in the app. If you have any questions about the app, ask in the group. We got a ton of people in the group that are in the app and doing the workouts every day. I love seeing all their comments and stuff about the workouts and how they're doing and jumping on logs and all that other kind of stuff. So please ask those people, ask the other subscribers what they're doing, how they're, what they're getting out of it, and how it's working for them. All right. Take it easy, guys. I will see you next week. Peace out.